Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1038B, and today's date is August 2nd, 2016, and the title of the episode is The U.S. Government Unveils a New Plan for a Wide-Scale Critical Infrastructure Attack. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. I placed the Jim Willey interview on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel, so you can go right over to YouTube, type in X22 Report Spotlight, should bring you right to the video, or you can come to the X22Report.com site, scroll down a little bit, look over to the right-hand side, you'll see the interview there, or you can go to NewsSentinel.com, same thing, scroll down a little bit, look over to the right-hand side, and you can play the interview right there. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, yesterday we talked about the Zika virus, how it looks like the United States government central bankers are pushing a new psyop. And we have to go back in time a little bit when the World Health Organization declared the Zika virus a global health emergency on February 1st, 2016. And they didn't provide much detail on the disease. So, here are a couple of facts about the Zika virus. This sexually transmitted virus, it has been around for 69 years. And it is marketed by two companies, LGC Standards, headquartered in the UK, and ATCC, headquarters in the US. Now, the LGC group is the UK's designated National Measurement Institute for Chemical and Bioanalytical Measurements, and an international leader in the laboratory services, measurement standards, reference materials, and so forth. So we see LGC and ATCC decided to partner together. And when you look closely at the Zika virus and you look at the patent on the virus, we find out who owns it. It's the Rockefeller Foundation. So you can see there's a motive, there's an agenda, and what they're doing is they're trying to create a scare, create a vaccine, and maybe try to push their agenda once again. We've seen this before with the swine flu, with Ebola, where the CDC sits down, they have this computer model, and they tell us how many people are going to be infected within the next 6 months, that we need a vaccine, it's danger, it's scary, and they push this, and it all just disappears. And then the pharmaceutical companies, they all get their funding. They all create the vaccine, and it will be used later on. And I believe this is what they're doing at this point. Now, the Pentagon, they're having the same problem that they had back in 2001. September 1st of 2001, when they came up and they were missing the funds, they just don't know where it is. And we can see the Defense Department right now, they're missing $6.5 trillion. The Department of Defense Inspectors General released a report showing that how bad the military's auditing system is. The Defense Finance and Accounting Service shows that the Pentagon could not provide adequate documentation for $6.5 trillion worth of a year-end adjustments to Army General Fund transactions and data. They just don't know where this money is. And once this story gets released and it's out there, we might see an event just to cover this up, just like we saw during 9/11, because we know that 9/11 happened right after. And the story was completely dropped, and no one even mentioned it afterwards. Now, we see the U.S., they're continually provoking Russia. The U.S. military decided to have a nuclear strike bomber exercise over the Euro-Baltic area, claiming that they're doing this because of Russian aggression, of course. So 3 B-52 strategic bombers and 2 B-2 stealth bombers flew together from the U.S. to the North and Baltic Seas before being intercepted by other NATO aircraft in an ambitious aerial exercise to show the power to Russia. to do it right at their doorstep to provoke them a little bit. And they're continually doing this. We see that the United States right now is bombing Yemen. Of course, they're saying they're going after Al-Qaeda. We see the United States is bombing Libya now. They're going after the Islamic State. We see the United States is bombing in Iraq, of course going after the Islamic State. And they're bombing inside Syria, of course going after the Islamic State. Now we know this is all fake, phony, and false, but what we're seeing right now is the U.S. is in each one of these countries, and even Lebanon, where they're bombing, where they have troops. This is the push right now. Now, of course, the corporate media, they're out there telling you that they're going after the Islamic State. They have the permission from the unity government. And all of this is about getting the people who object to the puppet government out of the way. They want to control each one of these areas because the system is completely falling apart and they're not going to stop. This is their goal. It's been the same since 2001. And their idea right now is to maintain control. Ashton Carter even said it, that we're going to have to go into all the different countries to keep control of the entire region. So the U.S. now is spread across the Middle East, bombing everywhere. And this whole situation is going to completely get out of hand. Now, Turkey is demanding Europe to give them visa-free travel. Now, the German Vice Chancellor said that Turkey's visa blackmail, it's not going to happen. We're not going to respond to those threats. And the Turkish foreign minister says, listen, if we don't get this visa-free travel, we're going to unleash the refugees throughout Europe. We're just going to open the floodgates and they will be released. So we can see things are really starting to heat up. Turkey's putting pressure on Europe. There was a coup inside of Turkey which failed. And this whole situation is becoming chaotic right now. Exactly what the U.S. government central bankers want. And when we look at this entire situation, this entire coup in Turkey has cost $100 billion in Turkey. And it looks like these figures are going to increase. And right now, we're in the month of August. We're already seeing bombings in Libya. And we're waiting for the next big boom. Because we can see right now that the United States government central bankers, they're back against the wall. Now, I see a lot of people out there talking about how the U.S., their goal is not to get Assad out of Syria. If that is true, why is the United States still in Syria? It makes no sense. Unless their motive is, one, to get rid of Assad, or two, to split up Syria. Either way, they're going to need to do something to push their agenda forward. This is why the United States is not leaving that area. If they've given up on Assad and they've given up on Syria, there's no reason for them to be there. Actually, they're there illegally. The elected government did not invite them in. The elected government invited Putin in to help out, but not the United States, not the coalition forces. And we can see right now that the U.S. is never going to give up on its goal. Because if they do, if they decide to leave Syria, there goes the petrodollar. The petrodollar is doomed. Yes, they can concentrate on the other countries, but the system only works if they continually go into other countries and capture their natural resources and put them on the petrodollar. Because once those countries start selling the natural resources, not using the dollar, it's game over. Now, as we can see, the Syrian army units, the Russian units, they are sweeping across the country, and the Syrian army units, they've found and they have confiscated a large amount of U.S.-made weapons in Aleppo used by the terrorists. And the weapons that they found were grenades, anti-tank tow missiles, mortar tubes, artillery, and other type of weapons and ammunition inside a depot, which they then later blew up. But we can see right now the U.S. has been supplying the Islamic State, supplying al-Nusra, supplying al-Qaeda with all of these weapons. Now, the so-called U.S. Saudi-backed terrorist groups, or the moderate rebels, the High Negotiation Committee, the HNC, guess what? They don't want to resume the Syria peace talks. They're saying that there's no point in it right now because what's happening is the Syrian armed forces and the Russian forces, they are sweeping across the country, and right now they're saying it doesn't really matter. And what we can see right now is that they are defeated. A lot of the terrorists, they're surrendering to the Syrian armed forces, and we can see that the United States, they're trying another propaganda trick. They're saying there were 2 chemical gas attacks that were reported in northern Syria. One in the region where a Russian helicopter was down, and by the way, that was a humanitarian aid helicopter. It just dropped off its load and then it was shot down. Now, of course, what they're trying to do is make this link between the chlorine gas attack and the Russian helicopter. But there is no link between that. Right now, Russia and Syria, they're saying, we don't even know about this chemical attack that took place. They're saying it's complete propaganda. So what we're seeing right now, and they had this video of individuals where they're in this hospital. But now, of course, we don't know what's really going on. All we're seeing is a video of people that are sick, people who are getting medical attention. But once again, there is no link to Russia or Assad. It's all pure propaganda. It's like going into a court of law, showing a video or pictures of a dead body, pointing to the person who's on trial saying he did it. Well, the problem is yes, there's a dead body, there's a picture, but you need to show first a motive and a link between the two and how it was done. This is the part where the U.S. always fails in. They always fail in showing the actual link. The pictures, the video, is to get you all emotionally riled up and say, oh my God, something has to be done. And then you forget about the proof. And they always seem to do this, and this is propaganda right now. So Kerry is out there, and he's demanding that Russia and the Syrian government halt all offensive operations. Now, why would he say this at this point in time? Because he realizes that they're losing ground. Syria and Russia, they're doing the job. They're getting rid of the terrorists. They're pushing the moderate rebels back. They're pushing the Islamic State out. They're getting rid of al-Nusra, al-Qaeda. And the U.S., they're lost right now. It's not working out for them. The agreement between the United States and Russia, well, so far we haven't heard it yet. Maybe it'll come out in a couple days. Or maybe we will see the next event occur in Syria. Now, we talk a lot about a cyber attack, an event occurring here in the United States, and I do believe that this will be the last major event. And we're starting to see evidence that we are definitely heading in this direction. The White House right now, they have created a 6-level schema that acknowledges the most severe attack could cause widespread blackouts, deaths, and even impact the stability of the federal government. The Presidential Policy Directive on United States Cyber Incident Coordination, it was released on July 26, and it's intended to provide clarity and guidance about the federal government's roles and responsibilities during a cyber attack. So what they have right here are 6 levels, 6 cyber incident severity schema levels. Now, level 5 is the worst. And it starts from 0. That's where we're getting the 6. Level 5 is emergency or black. This poses an imminent threat to the provision of wide-scale critical infrastructure services, national government stability, or to the lives of U.S. persons. The critical infrastructure services includes the power grid, where everything is hit. We have a complete breakdown of the system. We have a blackout, and we are in big trouble. Level 4, severe or red, likely to result in a significant impact to public health or safety, national security, economic security, foreign relations, or civil liberties. Level 3, high or orange, likely to result in a demonstrable impact to the public health or safety, national security, economic security, foreign relations, civil liberties, or public confidence. Then we have medium or yellow, may impact public health. Level 1, unlikely to impact public health. And level 0, which is a nuisance attack like a DDoS or something like that, which really causes no damage whatsoever. So what we're seeing right now is the U.S. government central bankers, they have prepared the nation for a 6-level warning system to let the nation know what is happening. Now, they had this before, right after 9/11, where they had the, level 0, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. They're doing it now for cyber attacks, which means we are getting closer to that point where something's going to occur. Something is going to happen, and they're getting prepared and ready for this event. This way, the entire population, once they flash that on the screens for those people who still have power, remember, they're not going to do this throughout the whole entire country. That would be absolutely ridiculous. Everyone wouldn't be no power. The government wouldn't be able to tell you about the false flag. So they're going to do this in pockets. And I remember when I was in Manhattan back in 2003, when they shut down the East Coast, I do believe that this was a test to see if they had the ability to do something like this. And guess what? They do. And they will shut down pockets around the country. They will have physical attacks. This will scare the other part of the population. So we'll have a certain population in darkness. You'll have no water, no gas. Other parts of the population, they're going to be seeing physical attacks in their cities. This way, the United States government can come out and say, we are at level 4 right now. We're level 5 right now. Which means there's martial law. Which means we're being attacked. Which means we're going to war. Now, it sounds scary. This is not why I'm doing this. This is not to scare people. This is to get you prepared and ready for what is coming. Because think about it. If you're in that scenario where you're in that area where there's a blackout, which I was, my family was, when you have no electric, there's no water, there's no gas, there's no air conditioning, no heat, there's nothing. It might take a little while for things to break down, but they will. And this was only out 2 to 3 days. Some areas it was about 4. But when this goes 5, 6, 7 days, it's going to be horrific. And this is why they're getting prepared for all of this. This is why they have this system. This is why they say if we are attacked through a cyber attack, it is an act of war. They've already made this determination. And this is to prepare everyone to get ready for this. Because if you're in that situation where there's a blackout, what are you going to do for food? What are you going to do for light? What are you going to do to protect yourself? Because during the nighttime, that's when things get scary. That's when you hear groups of individuals out there roaming the streets, getting ready to raid your home, to look for supplies. Because who's going to stop them? The police? The whole area is blacked out. When I was in Manhattan, I didn't see one police officer whatsoever. I mean, people were in a good mood. The restaurants around the area, the first day, they were selling like $2 beers. trying to get rid of their frozen ice cream because everything was shut down. Nobody had generators. The building I was in had generators, but the fuel only lasted about 3 hours. Boom, then it was done. And there were no fuel trucks coming in. So you can see how this is going to happen. Yes, in the beginning, people will be happy. People will be like, okay, we have a blackout. No big deal. 2 days, 3 days, 4 days into it, this is when things really start to go south. And you need to be ready and prepared for this type of thing. Those people in those areas where there might be a physical attack, they're going to tell you to shelter in home. They're going to say, do not leave your house. Will you see the police? No, they'll be busy doing other things. Because they'll be rioting. People will get word there's blackouts around the country. People will get nervous and scared. And it seems at this point, we're getting closer and closer to that point. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.